Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And we are joined here once again by Kerry and Tice from beautiful Sarasota, Florida. Welcome to CircuSoul Yoga. How you doing today?
I'm awesome. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Please introduce yourself to our listeners.
My name is Kerry Tice, and I live here in Sarasota, Florida, where I'm the director and owner of CircuSoul Yoga. We are a full-functioning yoga studio. We do yoga teacher trainings, hot yoga, aerial yoga, yoga retreats, pretty much everything under the yoga umbrella we've got going on here at the studio. The best way to get a hold of us is at our website at circussoul.com. That's circusoul.com. And you can also give us a call at 941-922-9642.
Awesome. What do you have in mind for us today? Because it's always something new and exciting. Go ahead. Tell us. Go ahead.
It is. It's always, I always got something up my sleeve. But this week, we're actually going to talk about what is called the psoas, really better known as the iliopsoas.
Okay.
And so it's actually, it's a muscle in our body. And I'm actually pulling up my model right now so I can share with you and show you what we're looking at today. There we go. Awesome.
Great. Thank you. Again, I'm sorry if I knew we were doing this, I would have had it done ahead of time.
I'm sorry. I made a mistake.
That's okay.
Didn't let you guys know I was
We're good. Don't you worry. Oh, wow. Wow. We're talking human anatomy. Here it is. I love it. I love it.
So we're looking at a model now of the skeleton. And actually want to kind of zoom in here. Oh, that's not what I want. We're having all kinds of technical difficulties today. It always usually rolls really, really easily. So what we're talking about is this muscle, and I'm trying to zoom in on it. And for some reason, it doesn't want to let me do what I'm supposed to be doing over here.
Sure,
okay.
No problem.
So this muscle right here, it actually, it's the only muscle that connects your spine to your hip. Right. Okay. So if you see here, I want to be able to zoom in here, but I'm for some reason not
able to. Okay.
In. Let's see. Okay. Here, I found a zoom in. Here we go.
Perfect. There you go.
Around. Aha. Okay. So you can see this muscle. It actually connects up here at thoracic 12 and through the entire lumbar. So if we kind of peel away a layer of muscle, you can see that it's actually connected to your entire bottom lumbar spine. So actually all of them. And it uses that as a, kind of as a base point to flex the hip. So what it does is it pulls the hip toward the spine. And you can see that these muscles actually cross over the hip and they connect down here at the leg. So if you feel like right where your like kind of panty line is, right beyond that where your leg begins, it's actually where it connects right on the inner thigh. And these muscles, when they contract, they bring the hip toward the spine, or they bring the spine toward the hip, and we call that hip flexion. So it's a really important, to be able to run and to move. Every time the leg comes forward when we're walking and the leg is back behind me and pull it forward for us, every time that happens, these muscles are actually engaging. There are muscles of locomotion. So there's actually what gets us around day in and day out. It's a really important muscle for me because I'm an athlete. I do flying trapeze, and it's actually what brings me all of my power. Any of your runners, any of your cyclists, like all these very, very powerful sports utilize this muscle. And we utilize it every day, right? It's something that we kind of take for granted. Absolutely. But if you kind of see where it's located, it's very centrally located. And because of that, it actually, it has far more power than just the muscular effect, right? Of course, this muscle is going to flex the hip. It's going to bring the hip closer to the spine, or the spine closer to the hip. There's no doubt about that. That is a big function of it. But what we oftentimes neglect is the fact that this area crosses over top of the abdominal cavity. So it's going to affect sexual power. It's going to affect your ability to have a baby, right? That sexual health, not just having sex, but like
Yeah.
being able to have a baby, right? And we
Maybe.
have a huge epidemic in our country of infertility, right? People are paying thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to have a baby because a lot of times the mom is not able to. And what oftentimes is kind of overlooked and neglected is that this muscle getting tight actually becomes very shortened. And I'm going to show you here, if we start to add in our other organs, right, you can see our now we've got our digestive system in there. And you can see from these video or this picture that if you look underneath here, I still have the muscle highlighted.
Yeah,
right?
I can
And
see it in the yellow.
I want to zoom in just a little bit more here so we can see that these actually touch, right? So they actually create what we call like an abdominal bowl, right? So the muscles of the hip flexor actually creates like a kind of hands that like the organs sit in. So when this is short and tight, it affects your digestion. Right.
Interesting.
So you can see that, on both sides, I can highlight this one over here. One side is going to affect your large intestine. One side is going to affect your small intestine.
Wow.
And you're going to affect the blood flow in this area, right? You've got major arteries going through here as well. See if we can show that.
Beautiful work, by the way. I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, interesting.
This is the app I wish I had when I was learning anatomy, because they don't always not able to show it how it is. So now we can start to see that this area is infiltrated with blood supply, with or what is supposed to be blood supply. So you can see that there are this major, we can click on here so we can see what it is. This is the iliac artery, which comes off of the abdominal aorta, which is like huge one, right? Really, really big, size of a pipe practically, right? And it's coming down and going into two pieces. And you can see that these two pieces, I'm clicking on the details here, this one and this one, they're right next to the psoas, right? The psoas is back here and the blood flow is right here. And so just like a tourniquet, or a rubber band, if you take that rubber band and run it around there, you're going to curtail the blood supply in this area. And we're having in America, we're having something like 100,000 hip replacements a year. And those hip replacements, a large part are due to the metabolites that get stuck in the hip and that are never taken care of. These things they can crystallize, and then the hip function, you've got pain, you've got all kinds of deterioration. So where do you think the blood supply for your hip bones come from, right? This same area, right? They need the bones need blood just as much as everything else does. And so you can see that the femur bone, which is right here, let me turn to the side a little bit so we can get a better angle. You can see the femur bone. And that's a lot of times what's being done in these hip replacements is that they're actually getting a new ball in the ball and socket of the femur bone. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to eliminate that, right? We're trying to eliminate the hip replacements. There's so many hip replacements people go in, they have to have them done again. Imagine having your hip fixed and then having to go back and get it done again. So what we're looking to do is just stop that, right? Eliminate that by going and practicing yoga. So one of the greatest things that you can do, and we'll just kind of tear away some of the details here, is just pull away, and we're back at our model here of our psoas, connecting the leg to the spine. And so if you sit a lot, this gets short, right? So it actually shortens as you sit. If you stand up, it gets a little bit longer, right? So this model is actually standing. So it has a fair amount of length. But what you could do to bring more length would either be to back bend, right? So that act of arching the spine, or you could do lunges. And lunges are when you take the one leg back behind you and you've got the other leg in front of you, which is something you're going to see in every single yoga class. Every yoga class that's well balanced it's going to take care of this. It's actually going to kind of work with this tissue. And that is such a powerful thing, because this tissue is affecting everything in your entire system, right? Whether it's directly or indirectly. You can see your digestive system. You can see your fertility in here, right? You can see the vascularization of the leg, right? So many people are having problems with their legs, restless leg syndrome, having to go in and have surgery on the vessels in their legs. And so we're just looking to be like, all right, we're going to just let that go, right? We're going to
Yeah.
stop doing that stuff. And so get into class, start moving the body through back bends and through lunges. So it's such a powerful thing.
It's powerful. I'm going to tell you this. It's powerful to see it. We could talk about it, but seeing is really believing, because for someone like myself, I'm 43, 2 kids, 4, 6. I let the stretching go. I let the working out go. And by speaking to you the past few weeks, I realized I'm damaging my body. I'm making it worse. I mean, by actually seeing this is making me realize, Jill, you got to get it together. Not just me. We're talking, whoever else is listening out there, the same concept. We need to take care of the insides of our bodies. Just because we don't see them, the stretching, the flexing, you're showing me the support, the structural systems, and I'm thinking, I'm doomed. I need to start, whether I'm going full-fledged yoga or I'm able just to stretch in the morning to start off, I need to start doing more. And I think that's important to everyone listening here today, to start moving.
Yes, whatever it is, even if that's a few minutes, like you said, just start somewhere and start moving, right? Get that motivation to go, because what's happening inside your system, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. And I love this. I love that we can start to see that this model helps us understand what's going on in the body, so that we can, take care of our body better, right? We need a really powerful medicine. And they actually say, I think this is really interesting, sitting is the new smoking. Right. What they mean by that, right, is that, smoking used to kill lots and lots of people. Obviously, it's still doing that. But what we're seeing is that this is the next kind of big round of disease creation, is that like this stuff happening is a direct correlation to your risk of every single disease that happens in our country, right? So we start to move, we start to feel better, and we can actually have this entire body feel better. But not just that, your psoas is also known as the muscle of fear, right? And so whether you kind of believe on the hokey pokey stuff of spirituality and this kind of things that happen in a yoga class, this is something that is really real. It's connected to what we call your sympathetic nervous system. So we have 2 kinds of nervous systems. Let's see here. I wonder if we can get both of these.
What is it? Sympathetic and
parasympathetic.
Thank you. I'm like, thank you. I see. I forget. You remind me of everything I've learned. Yes.
So we've got 2 systems, and this one doesn't isolate the 2, but you can see that we have nerves going all over the body. And one system is meant for acute stress, right? It's meant so that if we're walking down the savannah, right, and the saber-toothed tiger comes out from around the corner, right, we're going to do one of 2 things. We're going to freeze and go into a ball, or we're going to fight, or we're going to run like hell, right? And the psoas is actually what's going to be involved in that fight or flight response. So one of the first things that happens is blood flow to the skin is reduced, and blood flow to this area is increased. So, and you have epinephrine and norepinephrine, which are going to be released from the kidneys in a millisecond. So your body is primed to become a running or a fighting machine. And this is great for acute stress. It's great when the saber-toothed tiger surprises you around the corner, right? You need to be ready for that. You don't have time to kind of process that. So your system is very quick in order to do that. But the problem, and I think I talked about this in another one of our talks, is that we have an ancient brain and we're in a modern day society. So the stresses of everyday life happen over and over and over again. And every single time that happens, this muscle is engaged. Right? This set of muscles, and it takes some time for this stuff to be released. And most likely you're getting these stresses to the muscle and they're never getting taken care of. You're getting these major hits to your nervous system and they're never turning on that other system, which is called the parasympathetic nervous system. And that is also called your rest and relaxation or rest and repose system. That's the system that we engage when we meditate. When we rest fully, right? When we actually have like a deep relaxation, when we meditate, when we do yoga, right? When we really take care of ourselves and we start to work back into that healing system, we engage that system. And through that, the psoas actually is able to relax, right? And through that relaxation, we're able to have more blood flow going through this area. We're able to have our digestion happen properly. There are so many people that are backed up in our country, right? Elimination, right? Pooping is a huge problem in our country, right?
Yes.
It's a huge issue. And so one of the things, obviously, we need to eat more fiber. We need to eat well. But one of the things is we got to make sure that there's not a clamp at the end of the system keeping it all inside, right? And that clamp would very much be the psoas taking and curtailing that. It's the ability of the intestine to do peristalsis, to be able to eliminate, right? That is a huge part of what we need to do. We need to take the food in and digest it. We need to assimilate the nutrients that we can take on. But at the end of the day, we got to get rid of it, right?
Yeah.
We can't just keep holding in. We become really, really toxic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people who is not steady. It's every 2-3 days. And it's like, what? We should be going how many times a day? Really? It's more
Several.
than once a day, right? Or a few times. But
Yeah,
who
at
does
least
that? I
a
mean,
few times a day.
how much fiber can I ingest? And then at the same time, it's not just the fiber, there's all other aspects to that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we got to get in here. We got to move. And I love this little animation of the psoas actually turning on. You can see where it connects right on the inside of the leg, and you can see that every time you lift your leg, the psoas engages.
Oh,
right?
wow.
This would be that action, like moving, like walking, right? Lifting the leg as we step forward, or lifting the leg to hold it up in a yoga class. And we can see that it is involved in, a few of these other motions in the body that as we flex side to side, right? Side to side, that actually engages the psoas major, right? Which is one of those hip flexor muscles that we're talking about. I love this angle, right? We can see exactly what's going on to see how the spine actually makes this happen. And then that last motion is right here, where you can actually see the trunk. Let's zoom out just a little bit. We can, oh no, we can't zoom out on this one. This is a animation. Okay, so you can see that as the trunk comes forward, that muscle engages and pulls the spine toward the hip.
Okay.
So it's just great to see this stuff, right? It's so powerful that without the visuals, it just may not sink in, right? And we need something that sinks in and says, hey, it's time to get up off your butt, get moving, start stretching, start something to make yourself feel better.
Beautiful. Well, I think it's important, and it's baby steps, right? Let's be honest. Baby steps. We all need to start somewhere. And I mean, talk about, you must know statistics clearly about health in people, but like you mentioned something about you're trying to keep your body young. You said it last time, but like mentally wise, health wise, but body wise, by you working out as many times as you do or keeping your body healthy, by the time you're 90, your body will be more like a 50-year-old, right?
Right. They say, they used to say 50 is the new 30, right? It's like 90 is the new 60, 90 is the new 70. It's not just about the number of years that we get to have. We also want to have quality to those years. We want to bring quality to our life. And that's really what yoga is here for. It's not what it appears. It's not what it seems from the outside. Whatever kind of thought process you have behind what yoga is, it's probably not that, right? And it is really the system for us to get in touch with ourselves, right? Whether that's a spiritual side of ourselves, the mental side of ourselves, or our physical body, it's going to address all of those things. So if you go to a yoga class, you're going to become more comfortable in your body, or at least more familiar with what's going on in our body. And so many people, right, where it's to no fault of their own, but their job has them sitting in a chair for 8 hours a day, right? The majority of their day is sitting. And they're, maybe not even getting up at all, right? And they're certainly not stretching. So we're coming into this huge epidemic of short psoas, which is also leading to so many other problems that we didn't even talk about. Back pain, right?
Yeah.
And we all have a little bit of pain at some point or another, but low back pain, we'll kind of go back over here to the model real quick, as we can see.
Can you pull? Oh, there it is. I'm going to say, I don't see it yet.
Our
okay,
model, good. We can see the front of it, right? I haven't even shown you the back, but most of the time when we're hurting back here, when this pain is back in this area, right, you can see that you can even see the kind of through the little
It's
windows here, the hip flexor is still there, right?
Wow.
It's in the front. And a lot of times what it's doing is it's pulling the spine forward, right? Kind of hunched, right? You maybe see somebody that can't stand upright completely, right? It's not necessarily just bad posture. It's actually the psoas having pulled forward, and you're kind of in this permanent lock hip flexor position. So short, right? You're bent over. You can't stand up right. And that hurts, right?
Yeah.
It starts to pull on all of the muscles and the ligaments and the tendons in this back area. And then we have back pain, right?
Wow.
We got pain in the low back. We got pain in the hip. We've got all these different pains. And so much of that stuff comes from having a healthy psoas.
Can I just ask so quick, besides psoas, I know we're talking muscles, but where's that sciatic nerve thing? Because I had sciatica when I was pregnant.
That's a great question.
And a lot of people get that. Can you explain that and what it's attached to? It's got to be, yeah.
Yep. So we're on the back end for the sciatic nerve, right?
Okay.
So we can see we've added some layers.
There's the
on
muscles.
here.
Okay.
And let's see if we can actually get it. There it is.
Look. Oh, wow.
Yep.
Look at you.
Boom, boom, boom. Okay.
Mr.
So you can
Kerry
see the
Tice.
sciatic nerve. Let's peel away a muscle layer so we can see this a little bit better. But you can see the sciatic nerve comes, right off of the tailbone here, right?
Wow.
These are spinal nerves, but the sciatic nerve innervates the leg and it comes across the hip, where we can see that's like right at the back end of your butt, right? It goes right through your butt. And then it comes out where your hamstrings and goes down through the leg. So when the muscles back here, the hamstrings, right? These are hamstrings right here. When these are tight, when they are short, they pinch on this nerve.
Yeah.
And you can see the nerve actually goes underneath of them. So you can see that if this stuff is tight, this sciatic nerve is not going to be able to do its job, right? Which is, its job is to send impulses. And in order to send impulses, it needs a blood supply. And without a blood supply, we start to have pain. So we've got our nerve right here. We'll peel away a muscle layer and you can see that this has to be taken care of.
Wow.
We need to be able to get in here. Yeah, this is this is actually what we do in yoga teacher training.
I love it.
That we go through
love
each
learning about the
sections
anatomy
of the body.
Yeah.
And we have, of course, time to ask questions. We have a discussion, but it's not just about gross anatomy, because I can sit up here and talk to you about cool things all day long. But if these cool things don't help your life or help you do your yoga better or have a better ability to teach yoga, for me, it's not that important, right? And I know a lot of things, right? But these things that I know that actually really help me in my practice, and I've learned from my teachers, that's what I'm teaching people. And you can see that this area, it's rich with muscles, right?
Wow,
we are fully loaded in the back end and the front end,
the side end, the inner side,
the side end, everything. We have these amazing muscles, which are, of course, wrapped in fascia. I didn't get to show you. We talked about fascia. And I didn't even think about bringing this app out. This is actually kind of what made me want to bring the.
Oh, is that our fascia surrounding?
I wish I had done it last time. So you can see that that's actually your fascia wrapping up around each of these different layers. And so when the fascia is not happy, our muscles are not happy. And when our muscles are not happy, you're probably not in your best of moods.
Beautifully said. Wow. This is super important. Now, on a normal day, Kerry and Tice, you have your studio, you run that on a daily basis and all the different classes you offer, but all this factual stuff. How are you teaching your students like what you're teaching us? Is it part of your retreats? Are you sitting down with them with the diagrams like this too? This is intense. I love it. It's a real lesson. It's not, or this is just for us.
This is just for us. But you can see that it doesn't take long to understand what it is I'm trying to get you to get, right? It's something that I can teach in a 5 or 10 minute lesson. And then what we typically do in our style of yoga is that we teach a lesson, maybe we show the anatomy or we feel the anatomy on our body. And then what we would do is we'd go through a class that's going to emphasize these structures, that's going to make you feel these things, engaging and stretching them. So not only do you get this background on understanding the gross anatomy on the model and all the connections, but more importantly, you have a map already of your entire body. Your brain is so powerful. It has everything mapped out like really well, like a beautiful GPS. And so what we do in yoga class, or our style of alignment yoga, is that we connect the map with your knowing, right? Because you already know it, but then we bring the map and lay over a little bit of information so that the map you already have starts to make a connection to what you're actually doing. And that's it, man. That is so powerful to come in, have a little bit of information given to you, and then feel that stuff. And then you leave empowered, right? You have this information that you can now decide, all right, I'm making this yoga thing happen every day, or I'm making this thing happen 3 times a week, because now I know how important it is to take care of my psoas. I know how important it is to come around and take care of my hamstrings. I know how important it is to take care of my back health. And once you know, you can't unknow.
Yeah. Very true. Well, thank you for sharing all this with us. And if someone does want to reach out to you, let alone for the anatomy lesson, for all the amazing sessions and yogas and retreats, everything you do, please tell us how we can get in touch with you.
The best way to get a hold of us is on our website, which is CircuSoul.com. That's CircuSoul.com. You can also give us a phone call at 941-922-9642. So if you're looking for class, we've got you covered. We have about 40 classes a week at the studio. We also do yoga teacher training about 3 times a year, which next year we're actually going to start a retreat yoga teacher training, which you come and you would be on a retreat for about 3 weeks. And this would be the things we're going to talk about every day. We're going to have lecture. We're going to have discussion. We're going to do lots of yoga. We're going to be in a beautiful location.
Beautiful. Always a beautiful location in your studio. And the next retreat. So wait, Mexico, you were in Mexico already, right?
You're going back. I'm actually going to be back in Mexico in about 60 days.
Puerto Vallarta. Is that where you're going?
Yes, we'll be in Puerto Vallarta from January 2nd to the 8th. And that one is really just a way to reconnect with yourself, give yourself some self-love and self-care, deepen that connection with yourself. And we spend 7 days in this just amazing location.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. And to all of our listeners, please stay tuned. More of the show is on the way.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.